Are Genshin's shades going to be playable? Since I've seen differing opinions on the matter, let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So not too long ago, Hoyoverse revealed the all-new Shade characters. Huge characters in the lore, we've known about them for quite some time now, and actually seeing what they look like in the flesh is very, very crazy to say the least. We now finally know what all of the Shades look like. Insane. However, I've seen some differing opinions as to whether they're actually going to be playable or not. I actually am on the side that yes, they are, but I've seen some people say that no, because A, either they would be way too strong, and realistically, there would just be no way that Genshin could implement them into the game without them being the most absurd case of power creep in the entire universe, or it's just kind of unrealistic to have characters of this scale of lore gravity playable. However, I actually still think they're going to be playable. Reason number one, we did get that one Fatui trailer ages ago, and at the time, that was a crazy trailer to get. We didn't know what all of the other Harbingers looked like at the time. I believe that we got that trailer a little bit before Sumeru's release, so it was a pretty big deal to see what all of these Harbingers looked like. And a good chunk of them we haven't got yet, and I also don't think that every single one of them is going to be playable. For example, I don't think that the one with the long nose is going to be playable, because he just looks kind of weird, but I think that all of the other ones do have potential to be actual playable characters. However, what I will add is that the actual wait time for these characters is very, very long. They dropped those trailers ages ago, maybe just to alert people that these are what the Harbingers are going to look like, pick the one you like and you can start saving for them now, or just be aware of their existence. I mean, shoot, if that trailer came out around the start of Sumeru, we're in Notlon now going into Nodcry. That means that that trailer is about 2 to 3 years old now. So for anybody that's looking forward to Columbina, who was teased at the end of the Shades trailer, you people have been waiting for like 3+ years. Arlecchino fans were also waiting for a very, very long time. Child fans were eating good. They got him like right at the start of the game. But most other people had to wait very, very long for their favorite Harbinger in question. And it's also very possible that some of them are going to be killed off. We never got Signora, and it's likely that there's going to be a good chunk of Harbingers that just will never see the light of day. So okay, maybe not every single one of them is going to be playable. But I don't think that Hoyoverse would drop a trailer like this and try and drum up hype for these characters for absolutely no reason. There's always some kind of intent behind it. However, that doesn't really explain the lore issue and the potential power creep issue. Because yes, Harbingers are strong. In fact, spoilers for Arlecchino's story quest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay. She did beat us. Like, the Traveler is canonically not strong enough to beat Arla, so Harbingers are very, very strong, but they aren't so powerful to the point where they control the literal workings of Teyvat itself. They aren't literally tied to the Heavenly Principles, barring Piero, who literally gazed into the realm of the Shades within the trailer. But honestly, to me, I feel like Genshin is gradually ramping up the sort of lore power level of characters that we're getting now. It's genuinely not that strange for us anymore to get a really powerful lore character playable. Before, the highest bar was Dragon Sovereigns, and Novelette was basically the only one that we had. But the usual bar that people look to is Archons. Those are always the really, really big release that we get every year. The major character that makes everybody go, wow. And they tend to have the best synergies of everybody of that region, the best kit, the best this and that. However, our most recent release in Genshin was Skirk, a character who is literally not even from Teyvat. Her origins are literally from a planet beyond Teyvat. And in terms of power level, she is very, very freaking strong in her premium best in slot team, but she's not even better than Moika. Despite most likely being stronger than the Pyro Archon, I mean, if you're a big lore person, you can correct me on that down below, but I am 99% sure that Skirk would deck most characters in Teyvat if put up against them in a fight. It's not like Hoyoverse made her power level ridiculous. Like, they didn't make her so much better than the entire rest of the cast. And maybe you might see that as somewhat unrealistic, but she's still very, very strong if you've invested into the correct gear for her. And if you take a look at Mr. Settle Down, of course a very, very powerful character, during Fontaine, he was literally the best DPS in the game, like this guy was nuts, and even now, he still remains as a very good DPS character. However, is he so much better than Moika to the point where it's like, oh my goodness, this just doesn't feel fair anymore? Because he's a Dragon Sovereign, so naturally, he is stronger than the Archons, especially when you consider that after Fontaine, spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, he's had his full authority restored to him. So he's not just like a dragon with some of his power, he literally has full authority And yes, he did end up being very strong, and it does feel like he's one of Hoyoverse's favorites, because they are constantly indirectly buffing the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he got another indirect buff soon, and I honestly kind of pull my hair out at this point every time he gets one, because I am wildly entertained at seeing how many good new options this guy gets. It's kind of nuts. But either way, you get the idea. Just because a character has a high lore title doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be above the Archon. I still think that the set Archon is always going to be the top ceiling for that region in terms of meta value. It has been this way since, I would say, Inazuma. And either way, whenever the power bar for a new region increases, usually old characters get caught up along the way. I will admit that some characters like Escoffier felt like they took way too long to come out, because goodness me, did Cryo really need the help up until that point? But regardless, typically speaking, every brand new character release at the support is able to buff up some old characters to some degree. It's very rare that there's a brand new meta and all old characters just get completely left behind. There's obviously always going to be bad characters, that is undeniable. But even if the power bar were to raise, I don't think that every old character would suddenly feel obsolete in the presence of the Shades. I do think that the Shades are going to be strong. Definitely. They are most likely going to be very big lore releases, and I can definitely see them being given very, very strong kits. However, one other thing I'd like to add, I don't even know if the designs that they showed off in the trailer are going to be the ones we get if they ever do become playable. The main reason for that is take a look at Raiden Shogun's cutscene design versus her actual design. I feel like the shade designs are quite complicated. It's likely that they're probably going to water them down a bit, so that whenever they're playable, the 3D modelers can actually, you know, breathe. Now, if they aren't allowed to simplify the designs, then my hearts go out to the 3D modelers. They are absolutely cooked. I mean, look at all the little design details on Istaroth. Like, it's mostly Istaroth that I'm pointing fingers at here, with all the flowy hair that kind of fades out at the bottom and the little golden bits. Like, goodness, that's gonna be difficult to deal with. But otherwise, I do fully expect them to be playable. That's just me. Maybe you think I'm really reaching with that and that it's just not happening, but I do think that at least one of them is going to be. I personally think that, for example, someone like Istaroth, she's generally been portrayed to be a good person in the lore, helping Venti build new Mondstadt over Cider Lake, helping the people of Enconomia. She also helped out Raiden Shogun that one time so that she could talk to Makoto again. Otherwise, I do think that it would be a big waste for Hoyoverse to just make those gorgeous designs and then never do anything with them. It could happen. It could happen. They killed off Signora despite a lot of people loving her, and plenty of people would have definitely been willing to spend for a character that looks like her. But I think that this is once again just Hoyo building up some hype for the future, just showing off these big cool designs like, oh, look at these guys, what do you think? Nordcry is coming up soon, and just kind of getting us interested. And might I remind you, Nordcry is going to be packed with a lot of lore. This is apparently going to be the most lore-heavy region yet, because they're going to sum up all the lore that's kind of been hidden here and there and in all those little bits and bobs that you might not have read. So this is going to be quite the year of quests. And with that being said, quite the year of characters. If you like characters like Skirk, who have all this crazy lore behind them, we're basically going to be getting a year of that. At least that is my expectation. Or maybe every second character release is going to be a character like that. Maybe not of the same, you know, release gravity and hype level, but I'm just talking about lore importance here. I, for one, am very interested to see what the Nordcry character designs look like, because at one point in that Shades trailer, we actually got to see a snippet of what the landscape of the place looks like, and it's so interesting. Like, genuinely, the landscape looks very, very pretty. I'm really curious to see what the place has to offer. I feel like it's gonna be one of the most interesting places that we've visited yet. Like, genuinely, it's gonna be really cool, I feel. Now, I don't think they're gonna be playable anytime soon, and to be honest, there's one thing that's kind of confusing me about Nordcry. Because we're probably not going to be getting an Archon next year, I'm not sure who's going to fill in for the Archon's release period. At this point, that's usually the 0.2, or in my weakest case, the 0.3 patch. I'm not particularly sure who's supposed to be the character that has that scale of hype and gravity behind them, because at this point, we've built up so much bravado around the Archon title, but that's what everyone's going to be seeking out, but there's not going to be an Archon next year, likely. I suppose we'll see then, I'm not sure. I'd find it a little bit strange if it was Columbina, mostly because while Arlecchino was a super hyped release, she was saved up for the end of Fontaine, because there's usually a big release at the start of the region, and then a big release at the end, and then the middle is kind of more quiet, but this is a different region, so chances are it's probably going to be Columbina. I'm not too sure. I am curious if Piero is going to be playable. To be honest with you, I'm more confident in the Shades being playable than him because we don't really have an old man type character like him yet. I feel like everyone who's disappointed by the fact that Varka's not like a big gruff guy, you're probably going to find that more in Piero. I mean, I personally really like the teases of Varka that we've gotten. He looks very pretty in the stained glass. I mean, he's got like that fluffy blonde hair. He looks like Aventurine. I love Aventurine, so personally I'm into him. But as for Piero, we'll see. I do hope he's playable. He seems really cool. But I have my doubts since we don't really have like a proper old man character playable. Like, we have Zhongli, but he doesn't look like he's 90 years old. He looks like he's in his 30s, maybe 40s at a stretch. Regardless, I think that there is quite a bit to look forward to in terms of No Cry, and I do feel like we are likely going to see these shades be playable at some point in time. Not anytime soon, but they are definitely being saved for Genshin's endgame. I mean, come on. Do you really believe that we're never going to explore Celestia? Do you never believe that we're ever going to go and have a teleport waypoint so that we can go and see that place? When Zhongli has mentioned walking there, and Venti has mentioned how the apples there taste bad, so he doesn't like to make drinks with them. Like, it is a place. We are most definitely going to go there at some point. And during that patch cycle, we're probably going to be playing Asmodee and stuff, like that really crazy one that sealed us at the start of the game that looks like Herstra of the Void. That's just my opinion on the matter. I can understand if you're still skeptical, because their designs are really elaborate, and maybe they just wouldn't want to bother with that, or maybe some of them, like Ronova, are just genuinely too evil to be added to the cast, because Arlecchino was morally grey. You know, like, she had an evil part to her, but she was morally grey at the end of the day. Every character that we can play is at least a little bit good. So, if anything, I can understand that aspect of it. Because that's why Signora was likely killed off, because she was just a pure villain and there was nothing else to it. I myself am mostly setting my sights on Astaroth if any of them do become playable. I mean, she's technically Venti's mother in a sense. She created him, or is like a part of him, or something like that, so that's definitely the one that I'm gunning after. But if you're interested in playable shades, which one do you want? Or do you still disagree that they could ever become playable due to lore reasons? And if so, let me know down below. I should add, I do read the Genshin story, and I know a decent amount about its lore, but I am not going to claim to be someone who knows, like, absolutely every detail. I just don't. I go through the main story, and I've read some things here and there, but I'm not, like, a huge lore person, so keep that in mind, and I am very willing to take in suggestions as to why I'm just wrong. Hopefully this video was able to tell you why I personally think that Genshin's shades will be playable. This has been Juice, signing out, and to leave you with some food for thought, take a look at this suspicious looking picture. Yeah, I do really want Astaroth if I'm being honest.